Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Pick Bryan's Brain. Before we get started today, I want to talk about a new addition to the program that we're going to be adding. It has its serious moments, but also be a little bit comical. I'm currently in the process of writing a book right now titled The Impenetrable Lie, where it talks about mental disorders with dogs and how we treat those, rehabilitating fearful and aggressive dogs. Part of what I do on a day-to-day basis is to evaluate dogs, to make that determination, and then develop a behavioral adjustment plan that sometimes includes nutraceuticals to prescribed medicines such as antidepressants, benzodiazepines, agonists, things of that sort, and sometimes just nutraceuticals. But I'm also in the process of writing another book with my wife. We're co-authoring this book, and the title of the book will be Save the Dog, Euthanize the Owner. Now again, a little comical there, but it's true. How many times have you heard of something, witnessed something, whether it be a video or whether it actually be in person, that you just go, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Really? I mean, sometimes I think that we get so involved with our dogs that we lose our heads. We lose all sense of reality. We lose our common sense. And therefore, we're going to be addressing these issues in the book. Stay tuned for it. It'll definitely be funny, but I'll have those serious moments. But what I invite you to do is every week, send me your Save the Dog, Euthanize the Human. We'll just go ahead and wrap all humans in, not just the owners. Save the Dog and Euthanize the Human moment. And we'll be glad to share it on all of our episodes of Pick Bryan's Brain. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you one here in a second. In my profession, which I love dearly, I cannot tell you, anyone who's been around me, they know how passionate I am about what I do. They know I'm passionate about training dogs, saving human to dog relationships. I've studied it my entire life. I put my heart and soul into it. So therefore, I can be a little sensitive at times. And one of the things I'm most sensitive about are those people who practice this profession and yet really aren't qualified. And that does happen because welcome to the pet industry. It is a $70 billion a year economic powerhouse in which there are literally no accreditation, no oversight committee, no regulations, no one to make the people who participate in this industry to heal. They don't. So anyone who thinks they know a little something about a dog or they enjoy a dog, they can hop right in here. Now, if you know what you're talking about, I welcome you. We need really good people, experienced people, qualified people. There's 89 million American households with at least one dog. We could use a little bit of help. But if you don't know what you're talking about, do me a favor. Step out of it for just a little while. Go learn a little bit more. Gather yourself a little conceptual knowledge. Maybe a little experiential knowledge along the way. And then step back in. Because sometimes the recommendations that we make that are faulty, erroneous, can actually be negligent and sometimes even criminal. Now the video I'm about to show you is none of those other than it affects the life, possibly, of a dog. In the video you're going to see a young dog, 6 months of age, approximately 6 months. It was a rescue, came from an animal shelter. I'm not going to name the name of the dog. I'm not going to name the owners. I'm simply going to show you a video. And when you watch this video, we'll run it a couple times. I'll have Kara run it a couple times for you. When you watch the video, tell me what you think is going on. So here we go. We're going to roll this video twice. Pay close attention to it, and then after you've seen it, feel free to chime in. Let me know what you think is happening here. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about this afterwards. So here we go. Kira, roll that video. All right, welcome back. So we read that video a few times. Write in, if you would, tell me what you think is happening in that video. Just take a stab at it. And I'm going to come back to that at the latter part of the show. But again, during the week, come up with your own save the dog, euthanize the darn human moment. I'd love to see it. Love to bring it on this Facebook live event. Ask the viewers what they think. Hey, you never know. Could end up saving someone's life, not just being funny, but could save their life. All right, now I'm going to step aside from that for a second, and we'll come back to it. Now, since we've been gone, I've had a couple people that have sent in their questions. If you have a question, you can email it to Pick Bryan's Brain. Now, the important part about that is it's Bryan with a Y. Yeah, I'm pretty particular about that. It's Bryan with a Y. Pick Bryan's Brain at tamingthewild.com. I cannot tell you how many diplomas I have, or even really legal documents, everything from it was a will at one time, a driver's license that they tried to issue to me, in which they misspelled my name. And one time they actually spelled it B-R-A-I-N. And of course I'm going, nah, thank you for the compliment, but that's not my name. So imagine that. Pick Brain's Brain. Really silly. All right, let's get on to it. I got a couple answers to give to a couple questions that came my way. But you can send them into Pick Bryan's Brain at tamingthewild.com, or you can simply comment on the Facebook live event. All right, the first question that we received this last week came from Janae. Janae writes, Bryan, barky, barky, barky. The UPS truck goes down the street. Yep, bark. Someone comes to the door, yep, bark. Garbage truck outside picking up garbage, you got it. Yep, bark. And this continues on, and you kind of get the point here. She has reactive dogs that just bark at everything. Well, how many of us can relate to that? We own 4 dogs in our household, and we have a couple that used to be like that until we implemented a few things to kind of stop that action there. Because I love when the dog barks and let me know someone's at my door. That's really cool. Sometimes I'm in the backyard, they come to the front door. I like knowing that there's someone at my door. Great doorbell. Thank you, dog. I also like the fact that a dog is a great protection tool. For 3 years of my career, I was a police canine officer. And I cannot tell you how many times I raised a weapon at a human. 45. When that thing's pointed at you, the barrel looks about that big. Or a shotgun. To have these humans totally ignore me. Unbelievable. So therefore, I'd get my dog involved, and I'd just hit this little remote opener that I had on the side of my belt. And he'd hop out of the Jeep, come up next to me, and all of them are going, Uncle, I give, Uncle. In other words, they had the idea that I wouldn't shoot them, but I would let my dog bite them. So therefore, I don't want to debark your dog, Janae. I simply want them to bark when it's acceptable, and I want you to have the power to turn that off. So reading the rest of the question here, it goes on saying every little thing they bark. She's tried saying no. She's tried saying quiet. She even puts them in a down stay. And yet the barking continues. And it's two of them, and that's important to know. So again, she's got a stereo system going here, not a mono type system. It's a stereo. You've got two dogs going at it. Twice the problem there. But she says they're 3 and 4 years old, and it just started last year. Now that's important to know. Why is this important to know? I'll draw for you. Welcome to the mammal brain. Yours, mine, and these two dogs. When dogs bark at every little noise, it is usually, and notice I use the word usually, indicative of a nervous condition. They could be a little anxious. There's a condition known as a generalized anxiety disorder. A GAD, G-A-D, generalized anxiety disorder. Not saying that's what these dogs have. In fact, it would be very unusual for both dogs to have this condition. But one of the characteristics of a GAD is hypervigilance. Hyper, meaning the least little noise, and there I go, bark, 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 bark all the time. And it's sustained, meaning even when she tries to make them be quiet, they continue. Because anxiety feeds into this, which then anxiety goes from being anxious and a little bit fearful to flat out fearful, meaning there is possibly something there. Now, in all of her cases, she said there was UPS truck, garbage truck, someone arriving at the door. All of these play in. But when we use the term anxious, we're saying without the provocative event or the stimuli. Fear is when the provocative event or stimuli is present. It has to be something palpable, something you can touch, something you can hear, something you can see, something you can taste. It has to be there. But otherwise, it's anxiety. So we could be looking at this condition, and it could be just budding at this point here. And I'd be willing to guess that more than likely one of the dogs has this. The other one is simply mimicking what the other dog does. And that's extremely common. People ask me all the time, Bryan, do dogs learn from other dogs? I go, of course they do. Of course they do. What are they more comfortable with? What language can they speak the best? They're always going to be more comfortable with other dogs. I had a dog one time that I had to rehome because when my son was born, they diagnosed him as being an asthma type condition that was related to the dog's pet dander. So again, I had to take the big old difficult decision and rehome my little Sheltie, whose name was Rookie. Well, the home I rehomed him to had a dog who suffered from a very rare condition that we used to give the little nickname stargazing, or gazing at ghosts. This dog would stare at the heavens for hours and hours. And you literally in a trance. You'd have to walk over and touch the dog firmly to snap the dog out of it. Very rare condition. Well, there goes my little Sheltie to live with that family. And every day, every time I saw this family, I kept asking, you know, if you don't want him, I'll be glad to take him back. He can be a tough dog. He can be hard to handle. I'll be glad to take him back, but no, no, no. But then about 6 months went by, and I found out that my son actually was not allergic to the dog. He just had juvenile asthma at a different level, and therefore the dog was fine. So of course I'll go back up to the owners and I finally go, hey, tell you what, you know, I know he's a really bad dog and I can fix him and everything will be great. You want to give him back? And they go, here, you can have him back. So I don't know how bad he got over those 6 months. But here's the unique thing. Guess who was stargazing? Yep, Rookie. Stargazing, flat out, looking at the stars, hours on end. But because his condition wasn't genuine and it was something that was learned, it went away within about 6 weeks on its own. So back to this here, we could have a developing GAD. Again, to know that for sure, I'd have to evaluate the dogs, Janae, take a look at them and see. We can also have a condition here in which we have two dogs that are simply, again, one is reacting, the other one is following suit with it. Some things that I would try outside of a pharmacotherapy realm would be, yes, your downstay. Of course, I'm going to do that. Anytime a mammal goes horizontal to the ground, their heart rate will lower. And when that happens, typically the arousal zone, the excited zone, will start to come down as well and start to pull the dog from that really excited state or that really fearful state. So you're on the right track by doing downstay. You're also on the right track by teaching a command that means, hey, love you to death. Appreciate the initial bark, but that would not be a threat. Please be quiet. And that's where quiet comes in. But then finally, we have to make it happen. So again, I'm moving forward and thinking that maybe we're not dealing with a GAD. Let's assume that we're not. I've evaluated your dogs and there is no GAD. If there was, we would have to use chemistry to help us with this, to trap the dog at a certain level of arousal, not allowing it to get past that. We would have to depend upon that. But outside of that, we're just dealing with a condition that you have just two excitable dogs and they're yappy, yappy, yappy. Well, part of that could be, again, treating that. I'm going to take a couple things into account. Remember a while ago where I said, hey, 3 and 4 years old, and this started about a year ago? Let's talk about that. Remember us mammals? I started to tell you about it. We all have brains. Okay? Now again, some of them are missing in the save the dog, euthanize the human portion. But let's get back to this. We mammals are basically two hemispheres in our brain. Right side, left side. Right side is for emergent situations, fight or flight. When they're young, the aperture to identify a friend or a foe is very narrow, kind of like a camera lens. But as the mammal matures, becomes older, this camera lens opens wide up. Wide open, in preparation of leaving my pack, preparation of having my own offspring that I have to be able to safeguard. So therefore, my ability to identify a threat had better be spot on. And that normally occurs right when dogs reach about 2 to 2.5 years of age. That's when that happens. So no doubt that has played into this. The dogs have matured, the aperture is wide open, the identification of a friend or a foe has become more persistent, more active, more hypervigilance, and hence why we are barking and there is a sustained bark. Now to treat this, I'm going to do a couple things. One, I want you to put these dogs on long lines. Long lines. You can make them in a way that they don't get caught on all your furniture, and these lines will only be on the dogs when you're home, just for safety's sake. But these are tools that will allow you, when they start barking, hey, quiet. Now again, quiet by itself, what is that? If you're a dog, what is quiet? The first time they hear this, or even the 10th time they hear this, if nothing teaches them what it is, it might as well just be scuba nog. I mean, what the heck? I mean, what's quiet? I didn't get the memo on that. We need to always have an action accompany a signal. We have to. As I've talked in other Facebook Live events, it's no good just to give a signal. Again, you can stereotype it all the time. You can say the word quiet. That is a signal. But when you give signals, you have to guarantee the response. It has to be response 1. You have to guarantee that they will become quiet. So how do we do this? There's a myriad of ways. I like a long line. I have a new puppy right now, and he barks. But he's starting to learn this word quiet. When he barks, I say quiet. And I give a little tug on that leash. Now, how hard do I tug? Depends. Sometimes I find myself just going a little tug, and that's it. Other times, a harder tug. Depends on what's going on at the moment, but he's starting to get it. In fact, just the other day, he started to howl and bark in his crate, and I said, quiet. Didn't hear another peep. He's learning. And the reason why, there's an action accompanying my signal. And when you do this, this isn't pleasant. I mean, it doesn't hurt the dog. It's not painful. But there's something coming. It's kind of like me walking over to you and going, hey, you, and tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, you, I tap you on the shoulder. There's a haptic touch signal that comes with the auditory signal, quiet. So that's one way that you can do this. Give a good tug on those leashes. How hard? Start easy. Dogs continue to bark. Take it up. Take it up. Take it up. Till we finally reach this threshold called cost versus benefit. And again, this is the scheme that governs the action of all mammals. You simply have to make the cost of barking greater than the benefit. But again, before we do any of this, I really would like to take a look at these dogs, because if we're dealing with a GAD, GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, or any sort of mental disorder, adding this before we're able to deal with using chemicals to help us could actually exacerbate the situation. But when dogs bark and it's sustained, there's usually indicative that we're dealing with some sort of anxiety or fearful issue. Because barking is exhausting, it's stressful, and animals will not continue doing it for a prolonged period of time unless they're being motivated from something internally to make them continue to sound the alarm. Okay, so let's get a look at those dogs, Janae, and also let's think about getting those long lines and getting those ready to use, because at some point, even if we do use chemicals, we're still going to have to step in and do the therapy part, hence why it's called pharmacotherapy. Pharmacotherapy. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question comes to us, and this is small print, so I'm definitely going to put on my glasses for this. Hey Bryan, we're enjoying the Q&A. Awesome, glad to hear that. But this particular reader, who is Shelley, has a dog that is absolutely intrigued by her TV or any sort of jingle that the TV makes. She writes, how can I stop my dog from barking at the TV? She watches the TV like a hawk. Any sight of another animal, she's going to react. And it's not just animals. Anything she perceives to be an animal, which is, I'll come back to that, like cartoon characters or fur blanket. And she goes on to talk a little bit more about this. And she says she also barks when she hears a show's jingle. Let me explain. Once I watch a show several times, she learns the jingle that's played at the opening of the show. Okay, so you know how we train dogs? Sit. That's a jingle. As an example. Dog puts his butt on the ground, we reward. Sit. Same jingle. Dog puts his butt on the ground, we reward. A pattern is setting in. This is how dogs learn everything, is from patterns, pulling it all together. So now, no doubt that this dog is associating the jingle, of course, with the TV for that reason. I'm hearing it more than once, and by golly, that show is on. Now let me kind of give you a couple of little physical things about the dog's eyes. Canine eyes are different than ours. They were designed by nature to detect movement in low light. That's why when your dog is running to the TV, it's not actually seeing a dog. Whether it be a cartoon dog or be a real dog on the TV. Welcome to flickering phenomena. Flickering. Dogs have more rods than cones in their eyes, and those rods help them detect that movement in low light. They can detect flickering at a much higher level than we can. Currently, I'm standing underneath fluorescent lights, and they flicker at approximately 120 times per minute. But when I gaze up at them, I just see a solid light. But there are some people who these fluorescent lights, and one of those is my own wife, Kara, that over a period of time can cause her eyes to become sore, red, strained, and develop even a headache. That's because the rods in our eyes, which are much less than a dog's, are detecting a little bit of flicker, just enough to irritate us. But humans typically see at about 55 hertz. And when I say hertz, that's times per minute. I mean times per second. I'm actually off there, sorry. Times per second. Dogs can see 75 to 85 hertz. So therefore, they can see more flickering. So now back to the TV, just like me, I'm staring at the fluorescent light. I'm just seeing a solid light. I'm not seeing a bunch of flickering. When I look at my TV, solid lights moving, depending upon what the show is, whether it's be a cartoon or movie or TV show, whatever. But I'm not detecting all that flickering. Dogs do. And therefore, the patterns break down. They break down quickly. And now all of a sudden, it's a moving array of lights. Cannot make out any image. I just make out consistent image. Meaning, if you look like an ink blot test, and you swear that you see a hawk, I may look at that and go, that's a dude with a long mustache. But I'm convinced it's a dude with a long mustache. You're convinced it's a hawk. And if I keep showing that ink blot, and we keep looking at it over and over and over again, it becomes more ingrained in you, that's a hawk. More ingrained into me, that mustache must be getting longer. That's what's happening. Your dog is going to the TV, and persistent flickering is happening. Very patternized all the time. And the animal's learning this. And there's something that's drawing it to the TV. Now, all dogs like a little TV. They all do. But most of them will just glance at it and then just ignore it. That's the vast majority of dogs. But that's why this is occurring. For whatever reason, your dog may have a higher level of hertz or lower level, causing it to go to the TV, finding some sort of benefit in watching it, hearing that jingle, now knows it's on, and races to it. Hey, that's a great pastime for my dog. But again, if you're barking at it and carrying on, that's crazy. And it must be happening because Shelley writes, she's not watching TV any longer. Which, honestly, nowadays, not really a bad thing. But me, here's what I'm going to do. We always talk here about using stay, about using place. I'm going to use that moment, that time with the TV, to practice my training. In other words, I'm going to teach a behavior called place. We showed it in the last Facebook Live event, so go back and you can watch an archive film of that. But it's a behavior in which we teach a dog to get on a raised platform, like a cot, and doing my best to draw one of those. And the dog hops on it and remains there. And the cot serves as a reference so that even when they fall asleep, maybe that show you're watching is 2 hours long, your dog falls asleep. When it wakes up, it goes, oh, dang, I'm still in the stinking cot. And it doesn't leave. Towards if it woke up on the floor, now the first impulse that hits it, like my water bowl, my ball over there, or the TV, I'm now heading to the TV. So me, if this is my dog, Shelley, I'm going to train place, and then I'm going to use that TV as a distraction, no different than if someone were to come to your home and you want them to walk in and go, dang, it's a nice dog you have over there. Yeah, there's a lot of things you use place for. I'm using it for this darn TV. I'm going to put this cot out of sight of the TV, and I'm going to turn on the TV and make sure the dog continues to do place. And I'm going to continue to work through this. Different shows, different jingles. I'm going to do all of this on purpose. and work this dog all the way through. And then eventually you should be able to have your dog come off that cot and watch the TV without getting as excited. Okay, so hopefully that will help you with this. If you have any more questions on that, reach out to me. Remember, pick Bryan's brain at tamingthewild.com. All right, now on to the next question. Next question we have here comes from Lisa, and Lisa writes, Bryan, how do you stop a puppy from biting and grabbing me? Have it come live with me. There you go, problem solved. You don't have to worry about it anymore. She says the dog likes to grab her instead of the toy. You know, Lisa, I got news for you. If I could make a toy that was anything remotely like a human, Bill Gates, Tom Bezos, or Jeff Bezos, I think it is from Amazon, all their money combined would be in my bank account. There is nothing like the human for a toy. There's nothing like another dog for a toy. Yeah, balls are cool, tug-of-war ropes are cool, things that squeak and rattle, they're really neat, but they're not you. And all play is exploratory. There's actual function for it, meaning it's not just entertainment, it serves a purpose. Every time your dog engages you, grabs you with its mouth, and it's going, by the way, going to use its mouth because it doesn't have hands. So if I didn't have hands, I'm going to grab you with my mouth. It's what they do. Problem is, puppies have very sharp teeth, and that hurts. But they're exploring with you. They're learning many things at this young age in life. How can I control you? It's called intra-group control. So never think for a second that's always all play. There's some exploring going on, and that's why it's really important, and I do mean really important, that you control the play. When it starts, how high does it escalate, and when it ends. You must do this. And as far as grabbing you, I will typically give the dog something else to grab, something connected to me, like an extension of my body. I love to engage in a good game of tug-of-war. Oh my gosh, again, back to people who shouldn't be opening their mouths if they don't know what they're talking about. Always say tug-of-war will lead to aggression. Okay, here's your choice. You can either play tug-of-war with your dog, or your dog's going to play tug-of-war with something else. And it's probably going to be your sofa, the skirt hanging off your bed. It's going to be the clothes that you got hanging from a rack that you just brought out of the dryer and put on a hanger. They are going to play tug-of-war with something. Might as well play with you where it's more controlled. And it does not lead to aggression if you follow my rules. I can start the tug-of-war, I can tell how high it'll go or how low it'll go, and I can control everything, including when it ends. When you can't do any of that, now you're simply allowing the dog to control you. And can that lead to aggression? It can definitely lead to a dog using aggression to control you later in life. But just playing tug-of-war doesn't in and of itself lead to aggression. It's your inability to control your dog that can lead to that. But here's a couple things that I would suggest. I'm going a little bit blind into this question because I don't know the exact age of the dog. But I'm going to take this on a two-part approach. One, I'm going to teach a command. And there's going to be this command out there that means whatever's in your mouth, including me, spit it out when you hear this command. Now, around my household, we use the word out. You bet, works like a champ. Some people say leave it, give, drop, release. Again, I could care less if you say scuba nog. But again, back to this. This is the signal. S1 signal is required to create an R1 response. Every single time. If you want your dog to learn later in life, out, because it has your shoe in its mouth. Then if you said out and did not make it happen when he was a young pup on 2 occasions, and then the next 3 occasions you do, and then the next 3 you don't, and then you do, then the animal will simply learn that R1 is not necessary. I can do actually let me erase that, R0. I don't have to spit it out at all. They'll literally learn when is it safe to keep the object in my mouth and when is it safe for me, for my welfare, to spit it out. They learn these. These are intelligent creatures. So again, I'm coming up with this word out, and I'm going to make it happen every single time, including me. Now, I told you there was a two-part to this. One is where my own dog is biting me. The other one is where my dog is biting or grabbing undesired objects. These are treated just a little bit different, or in the sense that you have more options for your tools. Okay, me, young pup, biting on me. I got a couple tools I can use. Around my household, we have a pup right now. He's 17 weeks old. You will not see him out of his crate without a long line that's approximately 10 feet on him attached to him. That long line guarantees that I can create R1. So he has bitten on me. That's what puppies do. But when he did, I said out, and right after that, I gave a firm little tug on that leash. Now, he's a Siberian Husky. I grew up with those in Alaska. Let me let you in on a little something here. That little tug I used initially, that didn't work at all. I had to go to my own personal level 3. And it looked more like this. Out, out. That's a good firm little snap. Now that worked. That worked. And I learned from it. Hey, note to Bryan. When your puppy bites you and you say out and he does not release immediately, go to your own level 3. Don't try 1 and 2. He already trained me. 1 and 2 doesn't work. But a level 3 snap on that leash worked like a champ. And again, I'm reaping what I sowed, because just this morning I told him out when he grabbed my pants legs, and immediately he let go. That's important, guys. This plays into a vital role and builds a very, very vital behavior later in life. In my book, The Hammer, Why Dogs Attack Us and How to Prevent It, I talk about competitive aggression. When dogs grab things, and we need that back. Maybe they grabbed your bottle of medicine. Maybe they grabbed a knife. Maybe they grabbed that rat poison that you thought you tucked away far in your garage. Either way, when you say out, you need that to become like an instinct. Right then, right there, out it comes. And therefore, you don't enter into this battle with your dog over this object where they end up biting you and attacking you because they want to keep it. Competitive aggression is the #1 cause of aggression on the planet Earth, whether it be with a dog against a dog against a dog, or a human against a human. Stop it right now. You got a young puppy? Teach out. Use the cost versus benefit. When the dog does release you, reward, benefit. You know what? When you say out, there's a benefit to this. There's a treat. There's this incredible love that comes from you. One thing that I'm going to recommend, if your dog is biting you and you want to use a reward after it lets go of you, don't use you. You just told the dog, let go of you, and suddenly you want a pet? Just go dangle those fingers right in front of that dog again. Tempt it over and over and over again. So counterproductive. There's a time to pet your dog and a time not to pet your dog. And by golly, that is one of them. I see so many people, out, drop it, leave it, the dog lets go of them, and they immediately re-engage the dog again. So the young pup, of course, starts putting a couple dots together and goes, oh, this is way cool. This is like chasing a ball. I spit it out, the human picks it up and throws it again. So I bite the human, they say out, I spit them out, and they immediately start wrestling with me again. See where that thing's going? Hold off on the pet. You can use a treat, or just use your voice. Well done, sir. That's what I use with my pup. Well done. Now, another tool. Lemon juice. Lemon juice. I recommend that you get a little spray bottle and start off with about 1 part lemon juice, 9 parts water. Okay? So I'll write up here, 1 part lemon juice, 9 parts water. Why not just water? Okay, you can try it. I'll give you permission. Go for it. Reason why I say do this, because I've been doing this for 4 decades. You know how many dogs responded just to water when I squirted them with it? There you go. Hence, go to the lemon juice. Now, when you do this, for your own peace of mind, know this. Lemon juice does not harm your dog's eyes, especially at that ratio. And even it was 10 parts of lemon juice to 10 parts of lemon juice. Lemon juice is actually used to cure infections in a lot of human eyes. Which, here we go, back to my dog, another mammal eye. At my vet hospital I owned for many years, we gave these away with our puppy packs. We gave them away. Puppies biting the owner, out, spray. Yeah, went in their nose and went in their eyes. How many of you have ever chopped up a lemon and had that happen? I have, no big deal. I've even had my police dog that I talked about earlier get pepper sprayed twice. Is he blind? No. How many dogs used to get sprayed by postal workers and UPS and FedEx and so on and so forth? Absolutely. Start off with 1 part, 9 parts, 1 part lemon juice, 9 parts water, and spray. And when you spray, by the way, don't do this. No, you need to connect right here with the face. And if 1 part doesn't work, you go up to 2. That doesn't work, you go up to 3. And you keep working your way up till you find the level that works, and by golly, it will work. And then here's the neat thing afterwards. After you've done this, not before, but after you've done this, and it's worked, you found the concentration that works. Let's say your dog starts chewing on this table right here. Well, put a little bit of that lemon juice on there. Now when your little puppy comes over to and smells that, what memory do you think is going to come back? What memory will be evoked from that smell? Oh my gosh, I'm going to not bite that. I'm going to leave that alone. So again, tug on the line, lemon juice, use the word out or drop it or leave it, make it happen. Make it happen. Okay, I'm going to go on and answer one more question that we have, and then I'm going to come back to the video. We've got a couple little responses in. I'll read those off in a second here. All right, the next question I have comes from Molly. And Molly writes, Bryan, all of my dogs hate having their nails trimmed. Oh my goodness. Just let me see a show of hands right now. Just let me see a show of hands. I'm telling you what, how many of you own a dog who says, here, a little pedicure here, a little here, or a little nail trim, or I guess you'd call it a pedicure. Heck, I don't know, what is it, paws anyway. So there we go. How many dogs do that? Here's the reason being for that. I used to, when I owned a facility with our veterinary hospital, and we had a grooming salon, when I had to take over as a groomer, because I had a groomer become pregnant and she had her baby and all was great, but someone had to fill in for the groomer, and it was me. I used to go home praying, dear Father, please, please, all the dogs being born from this moment forward have uniform quicks in the nails. And that prayer wasn't answered. And here was my problem. We got a big old jagged nail like that. And inside of that thing was this thing called a quick. Now it'd be wonderful if all of those were uniform in length in comparison to the end of the darn nail and the quick. But they're not. And to add to the problem, most of these nails are black. Yep, good luck trying to find that darn quick. So here's what most people end up doing. chop. Okay? You send your dog to the groomer, and I'm not pointing at any groomer out there in the world. I've just been in this world. I've been around a long time. And I've seen clients' dogs go off to the groomer, and the nail was so curved, it was actually going back up into the dog's pad. It was going back up into the pad. It was that long. Okay, they send their dog to the groomer. Dog comes home, and it's that short. Now, what's the odds that all those nails had quicks that far back? Again, not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying, hey, if you're going to be trimming nails out there, keep in mind where the quick is, because that's extremely painful, and it bleeds like no tomorrow. And you don't want to send home a dog with quick nails and now they bleed all over the interior of your client's Mercedes, or they go home and bleed all over that $10,000 rug that came from India. Now we use these really burning type quick stops. Looks like a little match, all sorts of powder. Guys, here's what you do. If you want to get your dogs, first of all, over this, any new dog that you get, do this first. A healthy dose of prevention. One, when this nail is this long and the quick is sitting in here like this, only trim a little bit. Just a little bit. It may not look like a nail trim, but give that nail trim now about 3 days to a week and the quick will recede. It'll back up. It doesn't want to be on the end of that nail. And then you wait about a week later, you trim a little more. And you keep this up, and it can take you an entire month to get these nails back to where you want them to be. Be patient with nail trims. Don't be in such a hurry. Or do like my dogs. They come here to our facility and they run around on that concrete, and that's like an emery board. They never have to have a nail trim. They're filed all the way down. Take your dogs for walks on sidewalks or jog them on the road or whatever. And I typically wear them down as well. But back to my dogs, I already have a problem. Okay, kind of need to think about pig battles big enough to matter, small enough to win. How often do these dogs need to have nail trims? How often? If it's a dog that has to have a nail trim all the time, you're going to need to work on desensitizing the dog to getting cut. And that's going to require a little help. You're going to have to grab a paw, hold it, the dog will pull back, maybe try to mouth you, that's where that out thing comes from. Hold that paw for a little bit, release, reward. Grab, release, reward. Grab, release, reward. Then grab, and then hold nail trimmers. And then again, release, reward. And you build this all the way up until you can finally trim the nail. And I'm talking, this could take 3 to 6 months. It's not going to happen quick on any dog that's already been quicked. No pun intended. It's going to take time. Be very patient with it and keep working your way back. But again, if it's a dog who only gets a nail trim every now and then, make sure that if you're not doing it, you give instructions. I'm not worried about the length. Only cut a little bit off. Give them permission. Let these groomers know that you care about your dog. You're not going to be worried and get angry because you didn't get the nail trim that you didn't pay for. But you have to keep working and desensitizing, working and desensitizing. All right, I hope that helps. Okay, now we're going to wrap up the last couple of minutes here of our Facebook Live. I want to go back to our little story there. But before I do, actually, tell you what, let me reach over here, and there's a comment. And let me read this comment. And this comes from Janae as well. She says, at first glance, the video seems to show a human teasing a sweet, non-aggressive dog. He or she looks scared and not knowing exactly what to do except back up and retreat because he or she is scared of that stuffed thing coming at her. Spot on. You're absolutely right, Janae. Good for you. Well, here's the end of that story. This video was what a professional trainer used to make the declaration that this dog would not be safe to live with children. Okay, if you haven't been around this for long, and you haven't taken the time to study and understand fear in animals, developmental stages, expanding apertures, what is a natural response versus an unnatural response? How would a wolf respond to that? How does your dog respond to that? Global specific versus domesticated dog. And that list goes on, and I could use up 5 Facebook Live events just keeping that list going. I can see how you would think that. Child has stuffed animal, and therefore the dog could end up attacking the child who approaches the dog with a stuffed animal. I can see that. But let's be fair about the test. If you guys ever get a chance to read a book, read one by Dr. Franz de Waal, and it's titled, Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are? And in this book, he makes a very eloquent statement in which he says, all animal research is not pure, in that it is all tainted with human bias. It is. It's hard not to do. We're humans. So therefore, we think like humans, and we impute our standards, our fears, our conduct into animals. We can't help but do that. But try not to. Try not to use anthropomorphism when you're studying an animal. Use anthropodenial, meaning you're not imputing human elements into it. I use stuffed animals to help me evaluate dogs who are possibly and harbor an unnatural fear of unfamiliar humans and unfamiliar dogs. To test the dog portion, I begin first with a stuffed animal. All right, so over here, I have Red Zone. And I want to make sure you guys can see Red Zone. Can our viewers see Red Zone? Red Zone is cool. I named him Red Zone. Why? Because every time I bring him into the presence of another dog, a live dog, he sends all dogs into the red zone. And what is red zone? Fight or flight. Why does he do this? He's not even alive. He's stuffed. Because his ears are forward. His eyes are staring directly at the dog. They're not looking askance. They're looking dead ahead. His mouth is slightly open. His tail is up. His stance is taunt. In other words, in the animal kingdom, he's being very dominant, very assertive, can lead quickly and escalate to aggression. And dogs will immediately react to this. And the other test I do, once I approach the dog and I get close to it, depending upon what it is I'm looking for, I'll actually lift the dog up as though it's going to do a perpendicular mount. And poor Red Zone has come very close to being amputated a few times as dogs immediately attacked him. And again, he's not alive. And then, when I lift him up, I have to be very careful of that, because all the dogs will immediately back up when I do this. Red Zone has grown very tall. And if they run out of room to back up, which I never allow to happen because it's my legs that will be bitten, Red Zone's legs become my legs. Guys, this is a valid test, even though it's a stuffed animal. He evokes a response from dogs because of his posturing, because of his eyes, his mouth open, tail up, even though he's stuffed. Now my other dog over here, His name is Flat Black. Why Flat Black? Not just the coloring, but no expression. And when he's on the ground, and I'll move him back here to where you can see him, or I'll hold him up here, his tail is down. More of a neutral, slightly below neutral, versus Red Zone, whose tail is up. He does not evoke fear or anxiety in most dogs when they first see him. They look at him kind of like, what the heck is that? Is that really a dog? It's usually when I turn him sideways that they go, oh, I think that's a dog. But because his tail is down, and his ears aren't forward or perked, and they're flat on the side of his head, and they can't see any eyes or mouth, they do fine with him. Until I lift him up. I came about this guy because he was a retail display that we used for years. And he sat up on a shelf about this high, about right there. And when he was up on that shelf, every dog, and I do mean every dog, that walked into our lobby, as soon as they detected him, they growled. Because here was Flat Black, standing at about 6 feet of height, if not higher. But once I brought him to the ground, no issue. Okay, so now what we have here is a young dog, frightened, in a narrow hallway, backing up to a dark closet in which my escape route is now going to be cut off, being approached by an animal, stuffed animal, with eyes, with a mouth, with perky ears, and now at about 6 feet of height, approaching a young dog. Of course it's going to be afraid. Of course it's going to be afraid. That by itself cannot be the only test that is done. You must do many tests and take into account ages of children, the adults. Will the dog be running free in the home? Will it not be running free in the home? Yes, you could have a situation where a child picks up a stuffed animal, approaches the dog, smacks it over the head with it, or whatever, and now the dog could end up biting. But notice in the video, the dog was backing away. It didn't want to bite. It didn't want to confront the tiger. It simply wanted to escape. It wanted to avoid. So that is inconclusive with regard to making a final decision as to how the dog should be kept, with the family, with the children, or not with the children. Many more tests must be done. But me, someone sends me that video and they say, hey, evaluate this, there's no chance I'm going to make a statement that says no children in this household till I know a whole lot more than just that video right there. So again, that was my save the dog, euthanize the darn human moment. If you have any of those, please send them our way. And I'm going to do my best to make a teachable moment out of that. Because again, this is about saving humans, saving dogs. I'd hate to think that that dog goes to some shelter, and maybe it's a no-kill shelter, maybe it is a kill shelter, I don't know. Just need more to go off. Okay guys, I've enjoyed being with you today. I've enjoyed my time. If you have more questions, send them our way. We will be holding our Facebook Live event next Thursday. So 8 days from today, next Thursday, we'll be back on that Thursday track. Please join us. And again, send any questions you have after the show to pick Bryan with a Y, pick Bryan's Brain at tamingthewild.com. Thanks guys, thanks for joining in. See you next time. Bye.